This was gonna be a how to make delicious Cornell chicken on your Weber Kettle video, but because of some unforeseen circumstances, there's gonna be a lot more in this video, and it's actually gonna take a couple of parts to do it in. So, sit back and let's get ready. To make this Cornell chicken, you need to get yourself some apple cider vinegar. That's 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. Then we're gonna add 1 cup of vegetable oil. Next, the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of salt, but I'm only going to use 2 tablespoons of salt because, I've got a rub that I'm going to use later on that has some salt in it, and I don't want to over salt this marinade here. Additionally, the recipe calls for pepper, but I'm not going to use that either. Instead, I'm just going to jump straight ahead and put 1 egg inside of our marinade here. Again, not using the black pepper because, I've got my secret rub here. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Greg, who gave me this nice rub that he came across while he was down in Memphis. And so, some of the other recipes call for poultry seasoning. You can use whatever you want to kind of spice this up and give it your own flavor. So I'm gonna try this out, this nice little Memphis rub that my brother Greg gave me, and we're going to use that in our mixture today. The next step is just to go ahead, get the top, press the go button, and watch this thing spin around for a little while. We're going to make sure that the mixture comes in, nice, weird, light brown, opaque looking color. Get all the parts in there mixed. You don't want any clear looking stuff or anything like that. Just let it go for a little bit, and then when it's done, turn it off, take it out. Now, when you remove it and everything, it's going to be kind of foamy and frothy at the top. Don't really worry about that too much. I mean, it's we blended up, got it going. But what we do want is to get us a nice little bowl or container where we can hold about half of the mixture for later on. So we're going to put half of the mixture here in this bowl, and then save the rest of it in our blender pot. And so now it's time to get this and pour this over our chicken. For Cornell chicken, dark meat chicken is the best. That's thighs, legs, things of that sort. I got one of those big packs that had a bunch of leg quarters in a pack when I was at the grocery store. So I actually have enough to fill up 2 gallon-sized bags. And so I'm just going to try and, split my marinade between the 2 of these bags and get that going. Really, all your goal here is just to make sure that every piece of meat gets a little bit of marinade over it. So while you're letting it go in the refrigerator, that it's soaking and getting a nice little bath. So here, I'm just shaking it up, making sure that every little piece of surface area gets something on it. Pro tip, those aluminum pans that you use and you use on another cook and don't want to throw it away just yet, you can use that here and put your bags inside of that, and then put this in the refrigerator. That way, if you went with the economy Ziploc bags and didn't get the kind that's actually going to hold itself while it's in the refrigerator, you can avoid a very costly cleanup later on. We're going to go ahead and put that in the refrigerator and let it go. So when it's time, we're just going to go ahead and start out the grill like we normally would. Get the chimney, get a couple fire starters. I guess today I'm using these wax cubes, these Weber wax cubes. You can use whatever you want to. I use anything and everything. I don't really have a preference. As long as it lights, I'll feel pretty good about it. Also using Fogo charcoal. I'm using Fogo today because on the Weber Kettle, it gets hot really fast and can stay hot for a good amount of time. So I really appreciate that about Fogo. When the coals are nice and ready, it's time to go ahead and pour them out. Now, this is where I made a pretty big mistake. I poured them out, and you should do that, but what I didn't do was put some fresh coals down before I poured the hot coals down. And, even though I like Fogo and they get hot, the length of this cook, it's good to have a little bit of extra fuel in there, and I just didn't put enough down. And that mistake is going to come back to haunt me. Granted, if I'd been cooking on my Weber more often, that's something I probably wouldn't have done, but you live and you learn. I intentionally didn't set this up for an indirect cook. Instead, I opted to put all of my coals in the middle of the grill. That way I could line my chicken all the way around the rim of the grill, and get a little bit of indirect heat that way while still getting a really good direct cook on part of the chicken. I wanted to get the place nice and hot and still get some of that crispiness that can come along with that. Some cherry wood chips for flavor and color. And we just go ahead and put the grate on. You know, for this cook, I actually don't want this all the way open, so I'm gonna leave my vents probably about a half to 3/4 open, and then on the bottom side, I want to, give a little bit of a crack down here as well. Oh, here comes another signal that things aren't going to go so well. I should have just went ahead and cleaned out this grill before I even started, but I was getting some resistance, and this was getting kind of hard, so I decided to muscle through it anyway, but we'll see what happens here. Before I put the chicken on, I'm just going to give this one last scrape. The grates are hot now, so anything that was stuck on there, caked on there before, can come off pretty easy. And here, all I want to do is get my chicken laid around, all around the exterior of the smoker. When I started this out, and of course they give me one little drumstick here, but when I started this out, what I want to do is just do a little test. See, okay, well, let me do skin side up and skin side down, in an alternating pattern. Then I'd be able to do a little test for everybody to see, well, how does everything come out? Which one comes out better? As you'll find out later, doing all of this isn't really going to matter too much. And we'll just take a look at the setup here. You see, I've got kind of the ring going around the outside, coals in the middle. Nothing's really perfect here, but it's about as good as I could do with the setup today. And so we're just going to cover this up and come back and check on this every 15 minutes or so. Always clap the tongs for a good cook. You can see we're already starting to get a little bit of color on the chicken here. And so all we're going to do is a basic turnover. We're going to turn over each piece of chicken so that we can get relatively even cook on all sides of the chicken. You remember that sauce we kind of saved up? Well, it's coming back now. We're going to use this sauce as kind of a baste or a mop, if you will, on our chicken, and we're just going to go ahead and dab a little bit all over our chicken. You can use any kind of brush that you want to. You can use a mop brush if you have that from some of your smoking cooks. But we're just going to make sure that we get this going all over the side that's been this cooked here. This whether it's skin side or meat side. We're just going to go ahead and just dab a little bit of this all over so we can get it nice and flavored, juiced up. So, this routine's going to be every 15 minutes. We're just going to keep coming in here, flip over the chicken, and dab it with some new sauce. Again, you kind of look at it and you say, oh, the color's coming in pretty good on this side now. Let's go ahead and just flip it over and keep the process going. All in all, this cook should take you probably about 45 minutes to an hour, just depending on how hot your grill is, the temperature outside, stuff like that. Just how big your chicken is. We always cook to temperature on the, we're going to use a thermometer probe to check it out. But we're just going to go ahead and do a basic cook here. Check every 15 minutes, come back, sauce it. That's the basic drill. Now I had to include this section because there are just so many different types of mistakes that I made. And it all boils down to impatience and that first thing I showed you earlier where I didn't put down enough coal to begin with, because I noticed that my chicken wasn't getting that crispiness. It was still looking a little bit wet on the outside, and I really wanted to see it firm up some. And so I said, well, I can tell my fire's not that hot. So let me just go ahead and put some more charcoal down, just deal with it, and we'll get coals on there, leave the top off, we'll get this all taken care of, and it'll be fine. So that's what I did. Number one, don't do that because, when you put new coals on an old fire, it's going to create a bunch of new smoke, kind of the smoke that people don't really like. So, it's just going to start putting some weird smoke flavor on your food that you're probably not going to like the end result of. Additionally, it leads to this, which I'll get to in part 2 of this video. Well, you made it to the end. You might make it to the end of another one of my videos. Why don't you check one of those out below? Take it easy.